And hello, this is Eamonn O'Brien. You're so welcome to the Reluctant Speakers Club Expert Series. And coming up today, we're going to talk about the importance of getting past online noise to have the right relationships with the people that you share content with. You know, it's one thing to create content offline, one thing to create online, but if you don't connect the dots, not a lot happens. And we have an awesome expert in our chair today, all the way from France. It's Emeric. Hello, Emeric. How are you?
Hello, Eamonn. I'm great. Thank you.
Great. Now, Emeric Arnaud, you are, of course, the CEO of Agora Pulse, which is the social media marketing and engagement tool. So, and I'm a customer, so I'm bound to say nice things about you.
Don't. It will sound like an ad and people will flow away.
No, absolutely not. But the reason I want to chat with you is that obviously you are an expert in helping people to get noticed online and in the process, of course, developing their relationship. So can we start the conversation off, and maybe if I can get you to talk a little bit about what are the most important things that you need to do to connect with people through your content and through better relationships?
Well, first and foremost, I don't see myself as an expert. I see myself as a constant learner. So I see myself as an eternal student of things, especially in the online world where everything changes overnight and you have to relearn and redo and retry and retest everything all the time. So what I am is someone who has tried to learn as much as possible and test things as much as possible. So I've learned a thing or two along the way. What I've learned the most is by doing those things for ourselves, for our own content, for our own visibility, for our own awareness. So obviously what I'm going to share with you today is it may not apply to everybody, but the core of what we've done will apply to everybody. So today is, especially online, I mean, it's true on offline as well, but especially online, the noise is what dominates. I mean, the online world and the world in general is just a huge, big
Absolutely.
noise where it's very, very difficult to get noticed and to emerge. And what the type of projects or professionals or products that you see emerging fast are a total exception to the rule, like companies like Slack, for example, or Uber or Airbnb. And by the way, Airbnb is an interesting example about that. Like people suddenly notice and they seem to be coming out of nowhere. Those are very exceptional, very, very, it's like 0.01% of companies and businesses. But even those, Airbnb is a good example, because Airbnb, I think, before they started to get noticed and they started to be successful, probably were that close to go bankrupt and give up 4 or 5 times. It was they had a very rough ride. And from what I heard about Uber, the guy at Uber had a very tough time at the beginning, and he was driving his own Uber all day long when he was starting the business. So when you see great stories about super highly successful rocket ship business stories, don't believe them. There is always a tough story. And there is always an entrepreneur who has sweat and blood on the field a lot and had a lot of pain along the way. So that's the first thing. Obviously, marketing and storytelling will make people say great things, and and only focus on the bright side of the story. But usually, the story is not only bright. The second thing is because of that noise is actually a blessing and a curse. It's a curse because it's hard to emerge and it's hard to exist. But it's a blessing because when you do things right, you're usually among the small percent who are doing the right thing, and you have more chances to get noticed. So noisy doesn't mean that everybody is doing everything right. Noisy is mean that a lot of people are trying, but most of them are not trying right. Is the key to success. There is not one way, but there are a couple of core principles. The first core principle is you need to have a product or a service that people need. So if you don't have that, you can make as much noise as you want and be as
solve a problem.
It's not going to work. So that's really the first thing that entrepreneurs need to focus on. How do I make sure that what I'm going to build and what I'm going to spend the next 3 years of my life is something that people actually want and actually need? And that applies to service and product, no difference. And sometimes, you know, finding that focus, finding that niche, and finding that connection between the market and their product or service could be more local, be more niche focused on that niche, build more those kind of features, address more those kind of clients. So it can be a lot of different things. We're not going to get into the details, but start there.
Yeah.
If you start to be noticed and create connections with content or anything else, or social or anything else, and what you have to sell at the end of the day is not there or is not attractive to them, it's all wasted.
Yeah. Well, I like what you're saying there, that it's very important that you start off with the right attitude, with the right kind of product, because you've got to solve a problem. But yeah. I suppose once people have started off, so they're not quite at the Airbnb, yes, we've got over our 5 hiccups type stage, but they are trying to think about what kind of content can I put out there that will really register with people, and with the noise out there will more likely get shared. And I'm interested in what you have seen as emerging trends, I suppose, in terms of what people will consume and what people will react towards, I suppose.
So there's a very good transition from what we've just talked about and what content should I put out, because once you've defined what your market is and what your market want, and then as a consequence what your service and product should be, then you know who you're talking to, which leads to, you know, what kind of content you can decide what kind of content you need to write or you need to produce, because you know who you want to address, you know who you want to help, you know who you want to create something valuable for. As long as you don't know that, you don't know what content you need to create, so you're lost. So that's really the starting point. Know who you're talking to, know what problem you're solving, make sure that problem is big enough, and then you can create the content, and then you can start addressing that audience and addressing those problems. So the way we're doing it, to be concrete, our audience is social media managers or agencies managing social media accounts for their clients, or marketers managing social media accounts. And basically now that we know that, and we want to create content to attract them, the way we do it is we try to understand what questions they have, what pains they have, and where they struggle, you know, where they need answers to questions they cannot find online. And how we do that, basically we do that doing 3 things. The first one is we talk to our existing users all the time. Support, customer success, you know, like all these channels, all these reasons why you need to talk to your clients. We do that all the time. And every time we do that, we try to get bits and pieces about, you know, what do you need, what's painful, what are your issues, what are you trying to solve? And we write that down in a Basecamp, or you can do that in Evernote or whatever, something you can share with your team. And every team member has a mission to every month add something to the list that, oh, by the way, this month, these are the questions I heard, or the problem I heard, or I was confronted to, and our clients raised during our conversations. Maybe these are worth addressing with our content. That's number 1. Number 2, my content person. So I have a content person now. I'm lucky. I used to do all that myself, but we've grown bigger, so I can afford to have someone taking care of my content, and she's great. Every month, she sent an email to every team member, the tech guys, the support guys, the customer success guys, the marketing guys, to everyone in the team who is somehow addressing issues that could be interesting for our clients. And she asked them for one topic that they think we should be writing about based on what they've done this month. So for example, the tech guys, maybe Facebook has changed its API and it has consequences on what we or cannot do on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, or there's a new API on Pinterest and there are intricacies with that API that may have consequences for our clients. So that's what the tech guys are going to tell us and give us the resources so we can dig into that and learn more about how that could impact or be interesting for our users. That's number 1. Number 2, we go on Quora and we dig for questions. You know, we look at the questions that our potential audience have, and you find a load of stuff there. It's like it's endless. So you can you know, if you do 2 or 3 every month, you have a lifetime of content ahead of you. So that's the second source.
Yeah, I love that. It's like Aladdin's cave in there.
It is absolutely, totally. And then the third one is we go on the community support community of all the social networks that we are working on. So we check the Facebook support community, which is huge. I mean, there's so much content in there. The Twitter one, you know, all the FAQs, all the forums, all the questions and answers from their users to the platform, and we, you know, we spend probably 2 or 3 hours a month going through the forums and support communities of each of the social network that we are addressing, even the one we're not addressing, and we try to spot, you know, 1 or 2 new questions that we have not addressed in the past. So that's what we do. And then sometimes also we go into our old content, like the content we wrote 2 or 3 years ago, that addressing questions, and we try to, if an update is needed or if things have changed totally since then we try to rewrite something new and update it and do a 301 redirect from the old post to the new one. So at the end of the day, to be honest with you, we have so much topics that we could write 8 times a week about those topics, because we have a source of topic that's like infinite.
Yes, and but I like the way that you keep current with it, and therefore that you're much more likely to get a reaction at the time that you put it out there.
And it actually works very well. You know, you cannot hit a home run every time you write something, but before we were writing on gut feelings, we were writing, you know, doing this. And since we changed the way we find our topics, and we initiate we do our ideation process, we've probably tripled our website traffic and SEO. And I don't have any measurement of how we've increased conversion and connection with the brand because of that, but I'm pretty darn sure that it had an effect on that as well.
I like that, and maybe then I can connect that to something else that you're doing to create visibility for your business. And of course, this blog is all about helping people to speak better on the stage, but also online. And I know you've been doing a lot more speaking in recent times. Tell me a little bit about how you think that might be helping visibility for your brand and what people can learn from that, connecting the online and the offline, if you like.
So the most important factor in speaking for me is to build relationships with other speakers and with other people, not necessarily in the audience, but other people who are part of the conference organization or whatever even it is. And my experience with that is the best relationships I've been able to build, both personally. I have a lot of friends. I mean, people we have fun with and we have beers. And you're going to laugh at this. I even have one of them who is going on vacation in Brazil with me for Christmas. So that's the level of, that's the depth of relationship that you're able to create. So friendship, helping each other, mastermind groups, all that stuff, that's really because of the personal relationships you build with them. It's something you can definitely build by going to conferences and having a good time with the other speakers, which usually also are influential, also have an audience, also have their own business, and you can help them, they can help you, and that's how it works. So for me, it's been highly valuable. The only caveat here is it takes a lot of time. You cannot expect to start a process like this and say, I need to grow my business in 6 months. I need to double my traffic by, we're in December, right? I need to double my traffic by May, or that kind of stuff. It will not work. It will take 2 years. It will take 3 years, maybe even more sometimes. It's a long-term game, but it's a long-term game that is worth a shot, because the one thing that's an asset no one is going to take away from you, and no one is going to crush fast, is the relationships you're building, the strong and good relationships you're building with people in your environment. So it will not change your life in the short term, but it will change your life in the long term. And betting for the long term is probably the best thing an entrepreneur can do. The short term is a very bad thing. I mean, it's a very bad thing to focus on.
Yeah, well, you know, we talked earlier on about, you know, the Ubers and the Airbnbs and others. And, you know, the truth is that for most people, it takes years to become an overnight success.
Yeah, it can take from 5 to 10 years in my experience.
Yeah. Well, can I maybe round out and just chat about maybe some of the most important lessons that you have learned in rolling out your own business, hacks, if you like, that you would share with others that you think make a difference in the way that you connect with an audience online?
The first thing I would say, going back to the content, so I talked about the ideation and how we decide what kind of content we want to write. The one thing we've learned along the way is it's great to write the content that your audience wants to read, but if you don't write that content in a way that will put it on top of Google for the right keywords with the right traffic or the right massive traffic, you're wasting your time. And you hear a lot of stuff from experts about content that say, don't write for SEO, don't write for Google, don't write for robots, write for humans. So the problem is people have heard, by listening to that advice, they've heard, just write great content and pray for the Lord, and it will come to you.
They will come.
Yeah, but it's not true. And that's totally our experience. So what we've started to do a year ago, and the effect on our traffic has been tremendous, is everything we write goes through a very strict SEO process. So we look at the title. So the content remains the same, but we look at the title, we look at the topic, and we go do a lot of SEO research using tools, online tools, to see, is video, viral video, something viral video on Facebook, is it the right keyword? Is it massive enough? Is it going to attract enough people, or should it be funny video on Facebook? Or I'm just giving examples, but
funny video is absolutely huge.
Yeah, cats video, selfie, cat selfie. So sometimes you want to stay on topic, and you want your keywords in your title to be describing your topic clearly, because you don't want to create any misunderstanding between the SEO results and the content itself, and you want to attract the right audience, so you want to make sure that they are attracted by the right things. But we've noticed that slight changes in the kind of words you use can make a huge difference in how you're going to rank in Google for the same audience. And you also notice that people search for things in ways that are not intuitive. They search for ways like, oh, they use that keyword to search for that topic. Doesn't make sense to me, but that's how they search for it. So if you don't understand that and don't do the technical research about that, you're wasting a lot of time and valuable traffic and benefit from it. So that's the first thing I've learned. In terms of hacks, the other thing I've learned, but it's not going to be news to a lot of people who are doing software, I guess, or product, is,
well, speakers, it'll be news to them.
Yeah, never assume anything. Never ever assume anything. Assume that you know nothing, and test everything. Really test everything. And if you have partners and you want to test things, and your partner are assuming something and don't want to test something, then just hit them on the head and say, don't assume anything. Let's test this. With the biggest progress and the biggest success we've had with our business came from tests that we've made that probably were the fifth or the sixth test, the first ones being unsuccessful. And none of them could have been an assumption. So obviously, when you know your business and you do those trials and errors and test all the time, you start to pile up expertise and experience, and you start to be better at guessing what test will make a difference or not. But even with that experience and expertise, you're still surprised by the results of your test. So you got gut feelings, but don't trust your gut feelings. Go with the gut feeling, but still test it.
Well, listen, Emmerich, can I thank you for that? And also on the back of that, say that actually all of that applies also to better speaking, that you should be constantly testing your material and making sure that you're altering it to whoever happens to be sitting in front of you. So whatever you did last week is wonderful, but it's what you do next that's going to matter.
And be only speak about stuff you are 100% passionate about. Just people have to feel that it's like your dear love. I mean, it's like the thing that makes you wake up at night, and you could speak about it for weeks. They got to feel that. It's what makes, in my opinion, it's what makes a speech great. It's
Yes.
when the audience feels like the guy is like totally into it. It's like his thing.
Totally into it, but don't speak for a week, please. Nobody's going to.
No, for sure. But they know you could.
Yeah. Well, listen, thank you very much for that, Emmerich. And can I thank you also for watching the Reluctant Speakers Club Expert Series today. And until the next time, here's to awesome speaking.